What are you doing in my swamp?
You mentioned how Ukraine has plenty of military age still fighting. I want to ask, is the strategy that the U.S. is employing now to dwindle Russia's resources, whether that be financially or militarily, how would you grade the success of that strategy? Do you think it's working a little bit or not at all?
Well, that's a great way to frame it. I would have to say that it must be working in some sense, but certainly not the way that they had claimed or planned. I mean, remember they talked about their economic nuclear bomb. They were going to seize this $300 million or what is $300 billion in Russian foreign assets and whatever, this and that is going to bring them to their knees. And they just increased their trade with the East. They increased their trade with China and India, especially. You know, there's an article years ago from the war nerd. Are you guys familiar with him? Gary Brecher?
You're the war nerd.
And he wrote this thing in 2014 called, hey, guess what? They just opened a new pipeline from Russian gas to Chinese consumers. And like, that's all she wrote. You can't blackmail Russia ever again. Europe and America, they have independence from you now. And if you try to freeze them out, they can just turn east. And there's nothing you can do about it. And now he wrote that back 10 years ago. And he just absolutely was prescient about that. Now, it's true, too, that like you'll hear maybe people who are a little less educated in economics and a little like maybe I shouldn't say, I don't mean it this way, dude. I hate the way they do this to me or anyone else pro-Russian in their take, but just maybe give the benefit of the doubt more to the Russian side of the story. That like, as Austrian school economists, like we understand that military Keynesianism is also stupid and wrong and bad, just like all other kinds of Keynesianism. And that in fact, it's worse, right? Because you're talking
people
about
have to die.
you're taking resources, turning them into weapons and explosives, and taking men and getting men killed, and then using the weapons and the explosives to destroy wealth and property. So it's a net zero all the way around, and it's a massive diversion of resources away from productive use. But it's really good for your aggregate demand. It's really good for your overall GDP numbers, but government going deep into debt to stimulate the economy by purchasing a bunch of militarism is ultimately bad for the Russian economy. Now, but however, though, as we've seen in our own life experience here, that the kind of boost that stimulus gives will, in a bubblegum and string and smoke and mirrors kind of way, can actually paper over the actual economic pain and make things seem better for a while. And you might wager for long enough to Russia finish winning this war. And that's the way they do it here, too. They always put the war on the credit card. We'll figure out your economic pain later when you're standing in line at the unemployment office. That's your price of invading Iraq, for example, right? When your mom and dad are upside down on their house at the end of the Bush years, that's their price of killing all those Arabs that they thought, they were told that we were making money off all that. Oh, we're getting their oil and we're making all this. Our standard of living depends on our empire and all these lies, right? And so the Russians are doing that to themselves as well. That's what Vladimir Putin is doing to his society. He's taking iron ore and he's making bombs out of it instead of, you know, cars or whatever, baskets for your supermarket.